Geez, look at that. We just took a really old blade and made it look brand new. Hey guys and gals, welcome to Garage Gear. I'm JB. This is the All-American 5005 Gen 2 blade sharpener. And this is a direct knockoff found on Amazon costing almost 4 times less. But the big question is, does this Amazon knockoff give your lawnmower blade a precise sharpening that ultimately gives your lawn a cleaner cut? And just so we're clear here, I purchased this sharpener with my own money, so you know you're getting an honest review. And also, just so we're clear here, every component you get in the box is nearly identical to the original. Even the instruction manual. The entire kit includes the vise itself, which came in a very similar padded box, a mount which I had to supply my own mounting bolts for, and 4 different guide pins which fit various grinders, and the 4th is on my grinder itself. I'll have this blade sharpener, as well as my entire setup, linked down below. Now what you'll need to bring to the table is the grinder itself. Many grinders will fit this unit, and just about any basic grinder will do. And also, before you go and judge my $10 Harbor Freight Drill Master grinder, just know that this is about 10 years old, and this is the only job that this grinder has. Wow! Now, as I mentioned earlier, you get 4 guide pins with this kit. You'll need to pick the one that best fits your grinder. Just simply stick it in and twist it down. And these guides fit most 4 to 5 inch grinders. Next, you'll want to go ahead and somehow mount this unit to your workbench. I bolted it down like this to my workbench, but you could also go ahead and clamp it down to your workbench surface according to the manual. What's also really cool is you could flip it and mount it vertically to your workstation as well. And help mount this video to the YouTube algorithm, would you mind hitting that like button? Thank you. Now, once you have the vise mounted to your workstation, you're ready to pop a blade on it. Now, it is best practice to scrape or clean off any stuck-on grass that's on the blade. Not cleaning the blade could throw off your blade. Not cleaning your blade could throw off your blade balance later. Now, when popping your blade on, they make this very simple. You're gonna take these holes that are here in the center of your blade, and you're gonna position them right here in the center of the vise. Then you're gonna make sure that these screws are resting just at the top of the blade, and then simply tighten it down, and that'll hug it nice and tight right there in the center of the vise. You want it snug. That's it. Snug is good. And you want the edge that's gonna be ground down facing up toward the top. With your grinder off, you're gonna slide your guide pin into the pivot bushing. Big tip alert. Now this pivot bushing right here can be threaded left or right. This is great because once you slide in your grinder like so, you can position your grinder to the left or the right to make sure you're accurately hitting your blade. You'll want the center of your grinder disc scraping along the center of that edge. So we can do a few practice scrapes to see where it's gonna lie. Perfect. You can see that shiny spot. We're right where we need to be. Now, since we're on the topic of grinder wheels, you might be asking yourself, what kind of grinder wheel or disc should you have? Well, the manual recommends a 36 to 60 grit flap disc. This is a Zirconia 40 grit. And you can see that the flaps are all nicely laid out, but the very tips are really starting to show their wear. So I'm not a big fan of these unless I'm just doing a quick maintenance sharpening. What I really like using is a grinding wheel. And this is made of aluminum oxide. This is a 24 grit, but I'll tell you, this thing can really set an edge. This is a 1/4 inch disc. Now, even the manual recommends that you could use a grinding wheel like this, but you gotta keep it moving or else you could gouge the blade. Also, I bought this aluminum oxide disc 10 years ago. Now, next, we're talking angle adjustment. And if you see these little numbers here, there we go. We'll lock the table now. You see these angles here? This is actually super important for how well you cut your grass. There's a dial on it right up here on the backside. You can loosen the dial up and you can set it anywhere from 15 to 45 degrees. Now, blade angles can actually be a more controversial topic than folding a pizza slice in half or not. Now, I've done my fair share of research on this, and I've played with my fair share of angles here in my yard, and I've dialed in the best angle according to my lawn. For my lawn, the sweet spot seems to be right around 30 degrees. Some websites and forums recommend 35, some 28, some 45. 30 is my number, so let's put it this way. You know your lawn best, you do you. Once you find your angle, set it and snug it down. Now, I have a 10 to 15-year-old recycler blade from this mower right here. It is far from sharp. I mean, it's like trying to cut thick bratwurst with like a butter knife. It's nicked, it's dinged, so if you're ready, I'm ready. Let's get it on the vise and do some grinding. Cool. All right, let's have a look at it. Geez, look at that. We just took a really old blade and made it look brand new. That is one incredibly sharp blade. Look at that. We still have a few little nicks and cuts in here, and that's okay. This is still a job well done by that grinder. Now, this spot in here in my garage, this is my step going into my house. This is the only level spot in my entire garage. So I have my blade balancing cone right here. We're gonna pop it on top, and if it leans more to one side, we know we gotta balance it. So it's leaning down this way. So what we gotta do is we gotta shear a few more lengths of the blade off that side. This is the heavy side. We're gonna remount it, get it back in. She wasn't off by much, so we'll give it just a few more passes. We'll see how that does. All right, let's play the game. Is she balanced? Yep, looks pretty good to me. I'll tell you what, that is gonna cut grass significantly better. Now, as ugly as that blade originally was, it's now fully sharpened on both sides, fully balanced, and ready to go back on the mower. Here's a few safety tips and tricks. First off, make sure you're wearing protective eyewear. Metal shards to the eye are no fun at all. Don't overthink it. Make light passes, guiding the grinder in an upward motion. This will help keep your blade angle nice and consistent. Maintenance sharpenings should only take a couple of passes. Know this, your first initial passes on a new blade may not be the same as the angle you are about to put on the blade, and it will take several passes to correct your blade angle the first time. Now, if you start seeing blue spots on the shiny edge that you're starting to grind down, that means you're either traveling with the grinder too slow or you're taking off way too much material. More light cuts are better than fewer heavy cuts. And know this, if the blade is badly nicked, it may take a few extra passes to correct them. It's also a really good idea to make a handful of passes, check your work, and then go again. Now, if you have a narrower lawnmower blade like you see on some battery-powered lawnmowers, in that case, you might have to make a modification here to the vise. From here, what you can do is simply untwist this all the way, take this guy all the way out, reverse it, slide it up, and then simply twist it back down. Just like that, this would allow you to clamp down some seriously narrow blades. Now, I typically sharpen my lawnmower blades once per season, once in the spring, summer, and fall. Then I'll usually even sharpen my lawnmower blade one more time before I tuck it away for winter. That way it's good to go as soon as I start it up in the spring. Now, here's what I like about this blade sharpening tool. The big reason that I bought it was to create consistent angles on my blades. Now, in the past, I could take the blade off, throw it in my Wilton vise, clamp it down, and then take my grinder and I would just make passes that way. But the angle here on the blade would almost never be consistent because I could tip the angle grinder one way or the other, throwing off my angle of my blade. A lot of old school guys out there love just using a simple file to sharpen their blades. That's great, it works, but if you so much as tip the file one way or the other, you start throwing off your blade angle. Consistency is key, and that sharpening tool always creates the same angle for me every time I put my grinder on it. Next, it's small and compact. It doesn't take up a lot of real estate on my workbench, and if you're a landscaper, it doesn't take up a lot of space in your trailer either. I just mounted it here to the side of my Gladiator workbench. That way I can bring the mess outside. I don't like sharpening blades inside on my Wilton vise because then I have blade sharpenings everywhere, all over the place. So this being here on my portable bench keeps my garage space much cleaner. Another thing that this unit does well is it does a great job holding that blade in place. The blade is not allowed to wiggle out of place. It's a simple design that just works. And if you have lots of blades to sharpen like I do, I got 5 mowers here and 2 of them have dual blades, then this tool becomes really handy. Now, there isn't much, but here's what grinds my gears with this blade sharpener. First off, a few of these guide pins were not threaded very well. If we take a closer look here, some of the threads on these are fatter up top and then a little narrower as you make your way down. This makes it very difficult to thread it into your grinder. So be mindful of that, and it might be a good idea to purchase one of these units with free returns if possible or if available, because if your guide pins look like that and they don't thread into your grinder, you might want to send it back. Now, I have heard that some battery pack grinders will get in the way of this unit because the battery pack on the back is so big, so be wary of that. Next up, it doesn't come with mounting bolts. Now, this is the same case with the All-American sharpener too. You'll have to supply those on your own, and they don't include them because people can mount them differently just about anywhere. You're definitely going to want some thicker bolts though to mount this properly. Now, sharpening dual-edged blades. This can get a little complicated. Now, we see stuff like this on different kinds of mulching blades. In this case, you want to go ahead and mount the blade. In order to hit this transition here, what you'll want to do is hit this angle first with a series of passes, and then tip your grinder in a little bit and then make your passes for the rest of the top. Now, your blades may vary and different blades may require different cut patterns. You'll learn as you go. Now, some out there may say, "You're not supporting American businesses." That's fair, but I'm a baller on a budget, and the All-American model is 4 to 5 times more expensive for the same exact thing. It's wildly expensive. Take a look at this really quick. This is the instruction manual that came with this knockoff blade sharpener, and if we take a look at the back photo, that is the All-American brand logo on that blade sharpener in the photo. But if the All-American model could bring down their costs a little bit, I'd be all over that. I had some extra money to throw at this, and that's what I picked up. There is no doubt that this tool has helped me a lot. It makes blade sharpening for me more efficient and safe. For more cool garage gear content, click or tap the screen right here. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the garage.